This is Star Wars Battlefront 2 Classic, or well, the original Battlefront 2 experience were on Xbox Series S. So what are we getting here? 1440p, 30 FPS, auto HDR support. And yeah, it's kind of an iconic game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It's something I spent considerable hours playing when I was younger. The fact that it's backwards compatible is just such an amazing thing. I do the odd live stream of this still because I find it to be so much fun. And yeah, I absolutely love Battlefront 2. It is a complete classic. It looks pretty good on the Series S. I'm actually quite happy with it. It looks pretty sharp, all things considered. Not necessarily as sharp as I'm specifically used to, but I still think that it is a very, very good looking experience that is quite clean and precise and smooth. And yeah, it's just kind of great to still be able to enjoy this game all these years later. It means a lot, this one. It really honestly does. So what does this game have? Well, it's got a pretty dark campaign, all things considered. It's not like the longest campaign in the world. It's got like a little bit of story to it. It's actually pretty enjoyable because it paints this like dark perspective. It's definitely not canon by any means, but it kind of paints this really dark look at, well, basically the 501st, Vader's Fist. You get to see it from like the Clone Wars to, the Empire, and I think that's actually quite neat. There's also Galactic Conquest, where you're sort of doing this back and forth battle type scenario for planets using various resources. That's pretty cool. And then there's, a bunch of other modes. I personally really love Conquest, so that's kind of what I just play. You set up all of these different modes across these different maps, and then you just launch and you get going, which is pretty great to me. We're going to just be rolling through a large selection of different map options that are present. I've queued up a whole bunch of them. I did add space as well, because like sometimes you fight mostly on the ground here, but there are space maps you can go and do, and you can fly around and then blow up, ships and everything. Oh, I thought I died there, which is kind of funny. Which is kind of cool, and there's a bunch of different like clone-type classes and CIS classes, the Separatists, and then there's the Galactic Civil War, so you could be the Rebels, or the stormtroopers and stuff, and it's all beautifully detailed and captured. And then as you were seeing, there's different heroes on the battlefield, or sorry, the battlefront, that you can end up playing as, which is pretty neat. Yeah, it's just a really robust experience that I can still very easily suggest today because I think it's a lot of fun. And I think the gameplay mechanics of this do actually hold up quite well. The loading is also instant, as you'll see shortly when we go to switch maps. And yeah, it's just like a really good looking, good running classic Star Wars game. One of the best Star Wars games I've ever played, and I think there's kind of a reason why I continued to play it all these years later, is it's just really good and it's just generally really fun. A good selection of maps, a good selection of weapon options, balanced competitive gameplay. It's just really, really great. Now, the online multiplayer is no longer functional. None of the original Xbox multiplayer is functional, through traditional ways, so keep that in mind. But yeah, you could still have a great time locally. You can still enjoy just playing against the AI here. There's lots of settings to customize and tweak, and yeah, it's just a really well done package that I think actually has a lot going on in it. And where is this last enemy at? I'm very surprised. Usually we actually finish all of the enemies off, so that was a little weird. But anyways, victory, you can see that we're done. There's my stats. And then basically just, yeah, you just load into the next match, which is really cool. We'll be, even though I don't really like it because I like playing as Ayla Secura, just so we can show off different visuals, I will play as the Separatists here. And obviously, keep in mind that some of the gameplay will look like it's really old because, well, this game is really old. It came out This is like 2005. It's really, you know, quite an ancient title at this point, but that doesn't mean it's not still just as fun as it was back in the day. I definitely still think this one has value to it, even if, you know, there is a successor series that exists. You know, there's the Dice Battlefronts. I do think this one does hold on its own as being generally quite an enjoyable time. There's also this really cool sort of like assault option where you can do this mode where it's heroes versus villains, so it's like a team of villains versus a team of heroes. That can be quite fun. There's Hunt, which I'm not sure we'll get to because of time, but you play as, like, you can play as the Wampas fighting, you know, the rebels, or you can play as the rebels fighting, I think it's the rebels fighting the Wampas. Might be the Stormtroopers, I don't know, something like that. But you kind of get all these cool choices. There's like an Ewoks battle. You know, there's a lot to this. You know, it really does offer a lot of different ways to play, different ways to combat, and it's just a lot of fun. Still, for me to be sitting here going pew 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 pew, you know, I love it personally. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. For me, it's such an iconic experience. It really is one of the defining classic Star Wars games. At least I feel so. I mean, I think it actually holds up pretty well, all things considered. I mean, maybe the skyboxes aren't, like, perfect, and, you know, maybe some of the loading of stuff isn't the best, but it's still a really fun, riveting, and exciting experience that continues to delight, personally, me, all these years down the road. Which I think is kind of an impressive thing to do, personally, because, well, you know, I've played a lot of different games over the years, and this one, even from my childhood, seems to stand up. And I don't think there's even a blinded by nostalgia element to this. I legitimately think this is just a great game that you can have a wild time playing. Yeah, I remember so many like late nights with pals and stuff battling in this, and yeah, when it became backwards compatible, I was like, this is just absolutely stellar. I'm like, what a shocker this is to be able to do this. Taking on all these enemies, it's so great. And the battle never ends, you know. You could just, like, literally, there's so many different scenarios in this one that just seem to encourage great replay value. Like, there's Jabba's Palace, where it's like you can get into, like, the Rancor pit and be eaten. And it's just, like, for coming so quickly after the first one, they really did refine things a lot. And I continue, even to this day, to kind of be like, I wish we would have had Battlefront 3. A long-lost continuation, which would have had ground-to-air battles, and yeah, we were robbed. That's for sure. I'll definitely never forget that. That's yeah, that's a lingering thing. We did get the reboot, which, you know, had its moments to it. Not necessarily perfectly in line with this one, but I think it still was a very, very good time. Now, this one is quite beautiful, this map. Like, the reflections and stuff look just great, like, on the floor there and stuff. It's not quite as sharp as I'm used to, because it's on the Series S, but it still, like, really, really looks good and holds up quite well. Very, very happy with it. Oh yeah, and this hallway is just, like, amazing looking, and then you get to, like, the green room there. Like, it's simple, because, you know, it's quite old, but it's still complex enough that you're kind of like, wow, this is kind of amazing. Again, the lighting, and then when you get the HDR, it's quite nice. Yeah, I think they absolutely nailed this one back in the day. Pandemic Studios, they did a glorious job offering a wide range of heroes and characters and villains for you to enjoy. It's not all about the good guys. It gives you a mix of everything. Palpatine. Here to show you the true power of the dark side. Dun dun dun. And there's usually music playing, you know, obviously. gotta deal with those copyright things, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, normally there's like great Star Wars music too, paired behind this experience, which is a ton of fun to play. It's so great. Oh, you can see the Death Star shooting off here, because you can't have a Death Star map if there's not like a huge, you know, firing Death Star cannon. Ooh, it's firing away. Oh, and I got defeated. Defeated the Emperor. What an accomplishment. Might as well call this war over, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Luke Skywalker took it right to me, of course. And there are lots of different ways that you can customize the challenge and everything you're doing. And then, like I said, the campaign is actually kind of worth playing. It's a pretty neat campaign, perspective-wise, being that sort of, like, dark side. Well, you know, starting on the good side and then the dark side. Like, they actually take all of the random multiplayer maps and actually tie it into a bit of a campaign. I mean, don't expect anything, like, too insanely, like, epic, you know, gameplay-wise, but there definitely is some, like, striking sort of info moments, I guess, where it's like, I'll never forget the cold winds of this planet and blah blah blah. And yeah, that's kind of neat. They do change the settings to a degree in that scenario for you. And Conquest is, or Galactic Conquest or whatever, is a mode a lot of people really like too. You know, a lot of like back and forth. It's a little bit more like a strategy type scenario with the planets at play. I know a lot of folks really, really love that one. So that one's kind of an easy suggest too for modes, but you know, that's just kind of the idea is just going and battling. Like I said, instant action for me is the thing that I just kind of enjoy. Oh, we are actually having time for the Wampas. Wampas, raw. I can't believe that we get to enjoy these games all these years later. Like, it's just, it's so amazing. Seriously, like, to be able to play something from my childhood like this and have it look better is just the most amazing experience in the world there. Like, it is truly remarkable. Truly, truly a great thing. So I always heavily appreciate what backwards compatibility can offer. Like, this is great. You know, sometimes you kind of think, oh, you know, I want to get to experience this game again, and then now you kind of think of it from a legacy standpoint, where it's like, huh, no, we actually do get to play our favorite games. And I hope this continues to be something that's available so that, you know, future people and folks can actually enjoy what this has to offer, which is just a phenomenal experience. I hope someday, maybe, like, if I have kids, I could, like, share this game. Maybe it'll probably be a little less exciting then, but, you know, for me, it's still gonna be holding up as a fun time. Ugh. Especially with this, like, improved sharpness, too, you know, actually getting Series S to kind of deliver here is fantastic, just for, like, a bumped up, you know, visual experience. I think it's fantastic. Toriel the Wampa. I'm actually surprised I'm noticing such an actual difference personally, like resolution-wise, between Series X and S on this. I actually can kind of notice the difference, which is intriguing. I mean, it is quite a big gap, but, you know, for these older ones, you don't necessarily expect it to quite be so prevalent to yourself just by kind of, like, visually looking at it. It looks really good, though, seriously. Like, I am floored by the visual presentation of this on the Series S. It's looking far better than how it used to on the good old original Xbox, right? Yeah, I think a lot of people actually underappreciate seeing, like, a resolution improvement. Like, it really can do a big change up gameplay wise. They gotta take out some more of these enemies. Yeah, I love the hunt mode. Like, this is just ridiculous, right? Sitting here, like, fighting these two factions. But this is, like, the charm of this is, like, doing these, like, silly modes, too. It's not just, like, all serious action. It's actually, like, you know, some conflict and stuff going on. Down you go, Wookiee. And another one bites the dust. Rebel smuggler, more like... Oh, no, I actually died. It's kind of sad seeing the Wampas fight for their home and dying like this. It's kind of actually tragic if you think about it from another point of view. Maybe the Wampas are the good guys. Who's to say? All I know is this match is actually pretty close. Doesn't feel like the Wampa rampage we were expecting. Victory for the Wampas! And it looks like we're gonna sneak in another match or so on this one. Nice. And I can't believe, like, the loading, like, it actually used to take, like, time to load. And now you just, like, instantly get in. That's tech upgrades for you there, right? You can actually, like, literally, not only can you see the resolution improvement, you can just see, like, the load improvement is just wild. Because I remember that actually taking time to go across the screen between matches. It wasn't, like, ridiculous, but it was, like, you know, it actually took time. And now it just doesn't. You just go in and you play and you have a fun time with it. Here on Mustafa. Hello there. Look at that next-gen action. It's so realistic. To me, it's timeless. That's the biggest thing, right? For some, you might look at this and you're like, oh, it's just some old game. But for me, it's, you know, it's nostalgia. It's fun. It's something that I go back to all the time. Darth Maul. Shouldn't this be Anakin on this one? That's a bit weird. Why is Darth Maul on this? And the Jedi actually feel, like, powerful. Like, they're not invincible, but they actually feel like they can do stuff. I really wish they never closed the multiplayer on the original Xbox stuff. It was like, such a mistake for them to do that. I mean, I'm sure they never anticipated, like, this would be a thing, but... yeah. It's just, it's kind of sad that we don't get to play multiplayer on this easily. It's very, very disappointing. Like, it would have been very easy for them to just kind of keep the servers going in that, and I'm sure it wasn't too costly, but they were probably like, oh, we'll never do anything backwards compatibility-wise with it, what's the point of these servers, and yeah. Preservation of services is important, guys. No matter how silly it might seem for some businesses. Especially when they're so much into legacy content now. Huh. Wow, Obi-Wan's going to town on these robots. Sorry, these droids. These are the droids we're looking for. Ooh, slick victory that we even get to slip in one more map. Wow. Impressive moves, Obi-Wan. Mr. Kenobi, oh my G2, I love this level. See, there's so many, like, good maps in this. Simple skyboxes and backdrops, but, you know, it's still great. Yeah, Battlefront 2, the classic, the fun experience, the, just the exciting one that continues for me to deliver something that is fantastic. I heavily suggest taking a look at this one if you've ever been curious about it, ever wanted a good old, I guess, nostalgic revisit if you're coming from that perspective, but this game is just phenomenal. a must play.